Flourish is 1 to 7 players, creating beautiful garden parks over a number of rounds. You'll play and pass cards and build huge combos. Starlink Games provided this in exchange for an honest review. This can be played competitively or as a co-op. In the co-op mode, you all work toward an overall score. I'm going to focus on the competitive game that uses almost exactly the same rule set. We have the Signature Edition that includes the Friends and Follies expansion. I'll talk about that more during What Do I Think. Also, there are solo rules, which I won't cover in this review, and 2 variants that I'll talk about later on. On your turn, play 1 card face down in front of you and 1 card face down over each neighboring wall. In other words, 3 cards will be played from your hand in each round. When everyone is ready, reveal the card in your garden and collect the cards your neighbors gave you for your hand. Finally, draw a card from the central deck. At the end of the round, look in the top left corner of the 3 cards you played. If they have a scoring icon, resolve it. This could be a number of points per plant symbol in your garden or a neighbor's, a number of points if your garden has an equal or greater amount of a plant symbol, and so on. The plant symbols are on the left side of the card. Some cards instead have stone, which usually factor in endgame scoring, but otherwise work in a similar way. At the start of the final round, collect the 2 cards passed to you as normal, but do not draw from the deck. You will play 3 cards face down in front of you, then discard the other 2. Once everyone is ready, reveal and resolve all 3. Afterwards, check final scoring. Play and pass cards and manage your hand in order to score combos while denying opponents what they need. That's Flourish. There's no rating of Flourish, but there is grade 1-2 math. Younger kids may have difficulties managing their hands because of the information they need to keep in mind. Try starting them out without the passing part of the game, then move up to co-op. Our games, including setup and takedown, average 25 minutes. Stick to a dining table unless you're playing with 3 people or fewer. Because you only interact with your immediate neighbors, this scales well in both gameplay and time regardless of player count, although I think the solo game is weak. The game's bot is just a random draw. We used the Follies expansion in our 3rd game of Flourish. In the first round, I had a good hand, but when moving cards around, I accidentally gave away a card I wanted to save. I stayed competitive throughout, and some smart placement in the final round earned me 2nd place. I wonder if I could have won if I kept that card. Flourish's art and graphic design is so pretty, calm, and clean. The card art adds to the theme and doesn't distract from the icons. The symbols are intuitive and attractive. The cards feel like playing cards. After 10 games, ours have no wear or even a bent corner. We sleeve everything, but probably won't sleeve these. The cardboard is sturdy, and the scoring dials are really good. My only issue is that if the good reference card was bigger, it could have had a few more examples. You could teach someone the game in under 5 minutes. The box isn't very portable though, compared to most similarly quick games. Most of the space is for the Friends and Follies expansion. You could get a small box for the main components whenever traveling. The game feels even quicker than the 25-minute playtime, but this is a good thing, and it isn't so short that you feel like your decisions don't matter. It never drags, but you also never feel rushed, although people with analysis paralysis could slow things down. AP is when you freeze when you need to make decisions. If you had a bit of bad luck, maybe you can turn things around in the next round, or shift to endgame scoring. Things went really bad? Well, it'll be over soon, and you can jump right back in to get your revenge. The show variant requires 3 games in a row, and you can still play it after dinner on a weeknight. This game is more decisions than I expected based on its description. With 5 plants and 6 stones, you can't collect them all. The deck's big too, so you'll maybe only see half the deck with low player counts. This makes it really tricky deciding which icons to start to collect. Then, you have to balance scoring for the round versus the end. Each card is important, which makes things exciting from start to finish. I really like the scoring system. You're not just focusing on your tableau, and it influences what you give your neighbors. They might not be collecting a particular icon, but if the card will allow them to rack up points thanks to your tableau, you're not going to want them to have it. Regardless of my thoughts on the solo game, the fact that the game offers it plus rules for competitive and co-op is nice. The co-designer, James A. Wilson, made Everdell, which also packed a lot of gameplay into multiple modes in a single box. My personal favorite way to play is co-op. Giving cards to your neighbor feels more stressful because you're now trying to maximize 3 tableaus at once. I love the Compose variant that lets you trash a card during a round. Sometimes a card doesn't help you, it only helps or hurts a neighbor depending on the mode you're playing. This mitigates bad luck and gives players another decision. You might not need a card now. Yeah, always play this way. The Garden Show isn't too different from the standard mode, but 3 consecutive games plus the 7-point ribbons you're trying to achieve is a twist without adding complexity. The Friends and Follies expansion is actually 2 in 1. Friends provides 2 private goals at the start, but you only score one of them at the game end. Follies adds a spatial puzzle where you're maximizing adjacent cards to boost the point values of the Folly tokens you place during the round. It's a real brain burner, and I prefer it out of the 2. Flourish is a hand management game with excellent table presence thanks to the components and tableaus and quite a bit of replayability. Add the variants and you have a quick clever game that can hit your table after dinner every night for some family group fun. If you're a fan of Herbaceous' brilliant 20-minute sessions, I highly recommend Flourish.